What's going on, everybody? I am Mike Berlin and this is Wild Fed Family, and tonight I'm going to be grilling up some bratwurst. But it's not just any old bratwurst. This is venison beer brats, and what makes it taste so good is the fact that I was the one that was able to drag that out of the woods and bring this protein, this wild protein, back to my family. Not only do you get to be in control of the entire process, but it gives you excellent quality, and as a byproduct of that, you get superior flavor as well. But that's enough talking. Let's head into the kitchen and get started with making some sausage. All right, y'all. So I'm gonna start with this disclaimer. This is probably the easiest kind of sausage that you are going to make. Now, what I have in front of me is 10 pounds of a mixture of pork and pork fat, and I have 15 pounds of venison. Now, you do not have to use 10 pounds of pork and pork fat. I raise my own pigs, and I have pork that is absolutely spilling out of my freezers right now that I have to use. So I'm gonna use more, but whatever you do, make sure you are using at least 30% pork fat if you're going to be making bratwurst or any type of pork sausages. Now, if you've made it before and you haven't done that and your family and friends tell you that it's good, well, they're probably just being polite, and I'm gonna hurt your feelings and not let them. Use 30% pork fat in all of your sausages. Now, the next thing I have is the AC Leg bratwurst seasoning, and this, I love it. Now, I have no affiliation with them, but it comes in these packets. It's relatively cheap. I think it was $13 for this pack, and it seasons 25 pounds of meat. So that's what I have here. 10 pounds of pork, 15 pounds of venison. I dump this in and mix it all up, and then we are headed to the grinder. So let's get started. What'd you say? I'm making sausage. All right, so we're gonna mix about half of that seasoning in. I'm gonna give it a quick little tumble just to expose some of this meat on the underside, and dump the rest of that seasoning in. All right, so one reason I like to season the meat prior to going into the grinder is because the first grind that I'm going to do, as you can see, is going to be in a 3/8 plate. It's a coarse grind, and all I'm doing is roughly mixing this into the cube meat, and then I'm gonna let the grinder do all the work for me. Hey. I'm gonna let the grinder do all the work for me as far as mixing the seasoning in. So everything is roughly mixed together. You got the pork and the venison, and I got the seasoning on it, tossed it around, and that's pretty much what you're going for. But you want to make sure this is all partially frozen. As it goes through your grinder frozen, it's going to grab it better, and your blades and your plates are going to cut it better. You're gonna get a more even grind, and it's just a better end result. But I think you get the picture, so it's time to send some meat through this thing. So here's the deal. This whole rough grind is done, but I do not have the time to finish this project tonight. So what I have right here is just some serving trays, cookie sheets, whatever it may be. I'm gonna pack it on there in sheets so that I can come back tomorrow, or it'll probably be Saturday, 2 days from now, slice it up into long chunks and send it back to the grinder for a regrind. And not only is it convenient, but it's gonna grind better. So I gotta cook dinner, I gotta clean up my mess, I gotta get kids in the bath and in bed, so I will see you on Saturday. Well, hold up, I got one more quick tip for you. If you have a dual day project and you have to grind twice, don't bother cleaning up twice. Go ahead and put your grinding stuff in a Ziploc bag, a gallon bag, stick it in the fridge, freezer, whatever it may be, and you save your washing time. All right, so a couple days ago I said I'd see you on Saturday. Well, it is not Saturday, it's actually Monday afternoon after work. And what I did was I put this on the meat trays, I stuck it in the freezer for probably about 30 hours, and I pulled it out Sunday morning and stuck it in the fridge. Now, all of this is still very frozen, but it is cuttable. So what I'm gonna do is try to get it out of these sheet trays and go ahead and slice it into strips. Now, I suggest laying a piece of parchment paper or something in here, or using something other than a knife, but it should pop out with a little work. It's starting to free up. Hold on a second. There you go. All right, so now that it is in a cube and it's all held together, get you a knife and go ahead and cut it into strips just like this, but small enough to the point where it's going to fit down the tube of your grinder. So I'll keep on going with it. And there you go. We're gonna do one at a time so that I can keep these intact, exposing as little surface area as I can during this process. And now, time to start feeding these down the grinder for a second grind. But first, I want to say there's a couple different reasons to do a second grind. One, you're getting the consistency that you want in that grind. Two is you are mixing and tumbling that meat, and that does two things. It mixes your seasoning a little bit better, and it works the proteins together just like you would while you're kneading dough and mixing gluten together to make bread. All right, let's get to grinding. Alright, so as you can see, that is super easy grind. It's easy for the machine, and it's coming out stringy, frozen. I mean, the texture of it is absolutely perfect, and that's why you want it super cold and partially frozen, even for your second grind. It just turns out a lot better. So there you have it. Right there is 25 pounds of ground deer sausage. But we gotta go from deer sausage into bratwurst. So let me show you how to do that. Okay. So as you can see in here, I have quite a few distractions that went on around me, and I almost forgot a very crucial step. Now, in order for this to be beer brats, we need to add the beer. And in just about any sausage recipe, just about any sausage recipe, you're gonna need about 1 ounce of liquid for 1 pound of sausage. So we have 25 pounds of sausage. We're gonna do 24 ounces of Budweiser, and I prefer Budweiser for any sort of sausage. I just think this brand has good flavor. So I gotta mix this in, and I'm gonna work it to a consistency that I like. Anything past this, I'm gonna add a little bit of water. So let's mix. All right, so now that I got this mixed in, the next step is to pack the sausage stuffer. Now what I want to do, I actually have this about a third of the way packed, but I want to create probably about softball size balls and try to beat out as much of the air as I can. Flip this sausage stuffer over and throw a fastball right down the middle. after you got that, stick your fist in there, punch it, squeeze it out to the sides, get the air bubbles out, because the more air bubbles that you leave in here as you're stuffing the casings, you're more likely to have a blowout, and then you got to start that link all over again. Let's leave the meat. All right, I'm gonna keep going. So as I've been doing a little cleanup and I finished packing that sausage stuffer, what I've been doing is soaking these natural hog casings in a bowl of fairly warm water, not hot water, for roughly half an hour. And this is what it is. It's called Overseas Casings. I got it off of Amazon. They're salted, cured, vacuum sealed, sent to you for about $13. So we'll see where $13 gets us with a 25-pound batch. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So I'm gonna load all of these onto the horn, and we're gonna get to filling up some bratwurst. From here, you simply just tie a knot at the end once you get the air out and the sausage to the end of the horn, and you start cranking out some sausage into some tubes. So as you're stuffing these casings, be conscious that they are natural hog casings. So they came off an individual animal. Now, each one is gonna vary as far as the durability, the diameter, slightly, not a whole lot. So use your hand, and you can see I was kind of sliding my hand along it as it's coming out the horn to just kind of check on the amount of pressure that I have in that link. As you can see, this one I ended up blowing out right here. So I'll just pinch off the rest of the casing. I'll cut it off, tie it, no big deal. But that's just a little tip to help you out. All right, so I've pushed out about half of what was in the stuffer. Well, maybe a third. I have 3 spirals, and I still have the rest of this to do. So here's the final report. Now I got down to the very last casing. So 1 pack of this is going to do roughly 25 pounds of meat. And here it is all stacked up in this tote right here. But we gotta link it, and I gotta show you how to link it. So this right here is the bratwurst spiral. And if you were paying close attention, you would notice that I only tied one end. This one is free, this one is tied where it came through the stuffer. And there's a reason for it. Now, as pressure is applied down this tube of sausage, I want room for it to expand. So what I'm gonna do is start with the first link, and I want it roughly, I don't know, 6 or 7 inches long. Give it a good twist. Now, here's the next sausage. I want that one 6 or 7 inches long, okay? And rather than twisting, I'm gonna skip one. So there's another 6 or 7 inches. We'll say right about there. Now this next one, I'm going to twist. And that's it right there. So one more time, 6 or 7 inches. I'm gonna pinch it off right about there. Another 6 or 7 inches. I'm gonna pinch it off right there. And this one, I'm going to twist. And that right there turns a spiral of bratwurst into a spiral link of bratwurst. Once you get it where you want it, squeeze the excess down, tie your knot, and it's as easy as that. Add 1 pop, sorry. there you go. Links of bratwurst. So there's all of the sausage completely linked up. And what I'm gonna do now is go ahead and load it into this tote right here. And I'm gonna put it in the walk-in cooler for about 24 hours. And the reason being is because I want the outside of the casing to dry up a little bit and it hydrate from the inside out. After that, it'll be dry enough to vacuum seal. But what I have to do is show you how I like to cook this. Now, the perfect way to do it, in my opinion, is to put it on medium-low heat on a direct heat grill. Go ahead and cook it until it sort of starts to pop, but not quite splits open like a hot dog. And I prefer to put it on a bun with some just fresh chopped white or Vidalia onion, spicy brown mustard, and that is a venison bratwurst meal right there. It's so good. So that right there is venison bratwurst. It is super easy to make, and I hope that you learned something new today. Now, thank you for liking, sharing, subscribing, all of that. And that's pretty much it. I'm gonna sit down, I'm gonna eat some bratwurst, and yeah, that is a lot of links and a lot of meals out of 25 pounds of meat from the pigs, from the deer, everything from the backyard, and just good, healthy, tasty food. So I will see you on the next video.